Hi everybody, we're back for our second part of the tape measure videos we're doing. Again, these are for review purposes only and we're not responsible for anything you do with these videos, but we hope you get something out of it. What we're doing right now is talking about how to read a tape measure. This is one thing that I think should be taught in every school in America because it's the simplest system. Now here in America we use the standard or imperial system. The reason we like that over the metric system is it's because it's dividing everything in half. So it's really kind of nice in the way we do things that everything just divides in half. So everything's based on this first part. We just basically took a tape measure or a ruler, whatever you want to do, and we just divided it into the first inch. So we're just having that 1 inch and what you see on that first inch. So the first inch being right here, we're going to start it at 0, and we're going to talk about the individual lines that are on here, okay? So we take an inch, we divide it in half, we have half an inch. Then it's divided into quarters, which will be your next smallest line. And then we go into eighths. On a lot of tape measures, that's where it stops. So it doesn't go anywhere below that. So when we get into the area here where we're talking about where it divides at, everything from an inch is divided in half. That's how we get everything we go from. So if we're at a half an inch, half of a half an inch is a quarter, half of a quarter is an eighth, half of an eighth is a 16th, half of a 16th is a 32nd, half of a 32nd is a 64th, half of a 64th is a 1/28th. So keep that in mind. Everything, whatever you're doing it, you're just taking that number and doubling it and adding it up, okay? So you double the numbers and you double the math. It makes it really, really easy to be precise. There's no points. You know, I used to work at a bike shop, and for years what we do is we'd order parts like 26 millimeters, 0.3, which was very hard to anticipate. So what I tell people in most tape measures we have nowadays, the tape measure, I use what we call weak and strong past the eighth. So, and you can do that wherever you want, which means if I'm measuring over here, I'm a half an inch, I go to, a 16th. So if we're dealing with right here, so we do, this would be 1/16. If I come over to here, it's 3/16. If I'm here at a quarter, it's 4/16. So that's where it kind of gets confusing. It's all separating in half. So we're counting every single line. So if I want to do it by eighths, I go to the next line up, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, and we always stop and use the higher number if we can. So meaning that if I get to 4/8, that's a quarter. That's all we're doing. We don't need to get any more precise than that. So we're not, you wouldn't say it as 4/8, you'd say it as one quarter, okay? So that's really important. When you get to half, you're not gonna say, 8/8 or you would sit there and say half. So that's really important how you're actually saying it. So it's not, you're gonna get in here, you wouldn't say 4/8, you would say, 1/2. Okay, so we get in here. So if we wanna come on any of these lines, it's real simple. So if I come to here, I wouldn't say a 16th, I wouldn't say a quarter, so I'm gonna go up, so I'm gonna count all these. So it's gonna be 1/16, 2, 3, 4, 5/16. Okay? Now if I'm in between, what I'll a lot of times do is I'll call this out. I'll call out, like let's say I wanna be in this area right here. So I want to be in between a 16th. And if you've got an eighth or whatever it would be, so I'm gonna say, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 strong 16ths. And this is where I get into the strong and weak scenario. It's really hard to you don't need to be that precise when we're building houses and things like that to really get below an eighth, which is why most of your bigger tape measures don't even have them written out on there as eighths or don't even get there. Where some of my more precise woodworking tape measures go all the way down to a 32nd. And even some of the more precise measuring tools I have go all the way down to a 64th. When we're building cabinets, very important. When we're building houses, an eighth is fine. So what we could say right here is that we've got 1, 2, 3 eighths week, is another way of saying it. Now you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we'd go into the 32nd realm here. So we'd get, 10, 30 seconds. You're sitting there and going off that, trying to make it too hard on yourself. It's way easier just to count up and go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 16 strong. So I know that when I pass that down to them as strong, they know to go a little over that 16th. Now, if you're doing it as eighths, it would be, 1, 2, 3 week. We would go down, meaning it's a little less than 3/8. However you guys want to do that, that's how I teach it, because I don't think we need to be that precise and actually being there. Remember, everything's dividable. What is, we look at it, half, quarters, eighths is usually kind of where we need to be. From there, it can be more or less technical as you want to be. A couple other things you're going to see on a tape measure. And this is one of the ones we just talked about. Now, the tape measure is measured from the tip here all the way to the back, and you're actually going to put it in there. There is always a measurement. You'll see on the back has this kind of like funky diamond-shaped, oblong-shaped item here, and it will say number. I usually like to look at that number right off the bat, and then I check that measurement. Now, this particular tape measure, the bigger you get, this is 3 7/8. That's really hard to do. So when I'm doing any kind of inside measurements, that's why I always jump back to a 16-footer. When I'm ever doing windows, things like that, I'm always using these because I always make sure they're set to 3 inches. So you get one, 25, this 25-footer is 3.5. You get this guy here, and, this is one of my electrician ones, you're 3 1/8. So I really, really like ones that I can pick up. This Stanley's 3 inch, this DeWalt's 3 inch. So that's kind of one of those measurements we can add to that. Other measurements you're gonna see. Most of the time, the tape measure says right on the side of it what size it is. They will also, every single time, right on there, will tell you how long the tape measure is on the blade in case that's not on the side. So this particular one that we pulled out is a 35 foot, and it's written in inches instead of millimeters or any other ways. It's just telling you the standard feet and inches, 35 feet. So that's kind of an easy way to know. When we do layout, this comes into play on what is the most common layouts for houses. On regular framing, so like we have the wall we have back here, this is on a 16-inch layout, which means if I measure over, it's gonna land, if it was measured properly, it should land right here on a 1/16 of an inch, which is a 16 on center measurement, okay? So that is the standard wall layout for a standard house. Now, that can change, and you'll get 2-foot layouts, which is common nowadays with 2x6 framing. So meaning the 2x4 would actually be here, but instead of a 2x4, it'd be a 2x6. So that's really common. So you'll see every foot marked by an actual, on this tape measure, it's a house. So it's marked every foot, every 16 inches in red. So it basically tells you where the layout should be on every single one. And then it gives you 2 marks on your foot and your layout up to 4 feet. So 4 feet again. So every 16 it will give you a layout, meaning the walls here. And then the next one will be 16, the next one will be 32, and so on all the way up. And it's a split of 8 feet. So most lumber we deal with plywood is all based on an 8-foot measurement. The other one we use, and now it's less common to see this, but it's used in flooring. So when we build flooring in a second story, we use another measurement, which is 19.2. You'll see that as the diamond measurement here at 19.2. I want to show you guys this real quick. Come in here. You'll sometimes see that little diamond, and it's just past 19. So it's 19.2, and it's laid out basically 5 for every 19. You're going to see it again. So you're going to see the 19 again. That's the next layout. And as you go across, you'll see it again. 57, And then when we get to just before that, that dot is always 19.2 inches. And then when we hit, here's the fun thing, when we hit 8 feet, again, 8 feet is the layout for the 32 inches and the diamond. Okay, so both of those will land on that. So then we have a couple different ones here. You'll see this on a lot of tape measures, where you'll see the house and 1 foot. So that'd be the first foot you hit. And then usually from there, they'll sometimes do both. They'll do the foot and the measurement underneath it. So it'll be 24 inches at 2 feet. You know, and as you go farther, you're gonna see 3 at 36 and 4 at, you know, so it kind of does both. So you're seeing those measurements on there. That's the layout chart of a standard system. It's all based on the layout you're doing. If we're doing framing of a house, we're doing it at 30 or at 16 or 24. You'll see a lot of roofing is done in 24, and a lot of walls are done at 16. Again, we're getting more and more where we're starting to see roofing at 3 foot on center, and the walls at 24 inches on center, because now we're using, instead of 2x4s, we're using 2x6s. It improves the R value in the house when we do that for insulation purposes. And then we have that 19.2 for flooring, so you don't get the wobble in the floor or the squeaking we get in a lot of jobs that are done at 2 feet. So I hope this helps you guys understand how a tape measure works. Practice this a lot. This is all something that should be taught at every school in America, for one. But this is something everybody should learn. Watch the video, rewatch the video, practice, guys, and kind of get these measurements. These are standard measurements in the industry that are going to help you when you're at home hanging pictures, whether you're setting up to put your inverter on the wall, whether you're going to, you know, put in anything, where the plumbing goes or whatever that is, or vents or all that kind of stuff, all has this layout that's all built into the tape measure, makes it super easy for you to do if you understand what all those mean. So as always, guys, please like, subscribe, and share these videos. That really does help us. 2, please put notes down at the bottom. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us whether I'm wrong, what that measurement doesn't mean. It doesn't hurt my feelings. I love to learn new things. If you have other tricks you guys know about tape measures, put them in the bottom, or link me to a video that's really cool about it. I am wanting to learn as much as you guys are, as always, and have a wonderful day, guys. We'll talk to you next time.